Alright, before we get started into this video, I just want to address something I'm probably going to see in the comment. Yes, this is formatted a lot like Auspex Tactics videos. I am using this as an easy way to learn video editing and audio editing as I more find my own identity. And I figured that since inspiration is the sincerest form of flattery, this would be the best way to do it. So let's get right on into this. Star Wars Legion is a very fun war game I have become recently obsessed with. It is a game made by Fantasy Flight. It is amazing, is very cheap to get into and play, and it is very easy to convince people to play with you because it is Star Wars. So let's go into a brief summary of the game and factions. There are currently 5 factions in Star Wars Legion: the Empire, the Rebel, the Separatists, the Grand Army of the Republic, and the Shadow Collective, which are sort of a secret 5th faction, even though they're not really secret. It is still supported, and it usually has a yearly rule update and miniature releases every 3 to 4 months or so. Despite mentions of balance as well, it is still a more balanced war games than other war games. For instance, I think it's more balanced than Warhammer 40,000. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. Everything has flaws. So let's get into this quick summary. We're going to be going over some basic Star Wars Legion terminology before we get into the actual summary part of the video. I am going to be mentioning different colored dice a lot. For attacking, there are white, black, and red dice. White are weakest, red are strongest, black is middle line. For saves, there are white and red saves. White is bad, red is good. That is simple. There are also tokens you can generate, but the ones I'm going to talk about the most are aim, dodge, and surge. Aim tokens let you reroll dice on hits. Dodges let you auto-save something without having to roll. And surge lets you turn something that would otherwise be a miss into a hit, as long as it has the surge effect on there. The same goes for saves as well. As long as you have a surge token, you can do either. The only other terminology I'm going to mention a lot are activations. All you need to know is unless orders are issued to a unit, activations are done randomly throughout the game per a really good token system. So if you hear me say this faction can have a lot of activations given by orders, that is good. Let's get started with the faction everyone knows about, the Empire. The pros of this faction are pretty simple. It is a solid gunline faction with troops that can be difficult to clear out. Their heroes are numerous, and there are almost no useless minis in the range. Any minis you see can be used to good effect. They also have a ton of buffs that affect their aim tokens, which let you reroll extra dice on hits. And their Blizzard Force is very strong. The cons of the Empire are because the Blizzard Force is so strong, they could be getting nerfs soon. And other than the speeder bikes, the army can be very slow, only having a move 1 instead of a 2 or 3 on most units. They also usually only hit on white dice. So, their shooting, while good and can be made reliable with aim tokens, is not the best. The Rebel Alliance have some similar pros to the Empire, but also are their own unique thing. Like the Empire, their heroes are very strong and solid, and you will find them in almost any list. They have a specialized unit for almost any task you can think of in the game, and because of that, you can play them in a variety of unique and interesting ways. They are also a fast-moving army. They have a lot of high-move units that can traverse the battlefield very quickly. However, many of the units are glass cannons, and they're currently one of the weaker armies in the game, although that could change with balance updates. But no, right now, they are not considered the best, but they can still be played in any casual setting without a problem. And this can be a con to only some people. The Rebel Alliance can rely very heavily on gimmicky heroes and hero abilities. Some people love this, some people hate this. Next up is the Separatist. The pros of this faction are they have an amazing order economy with AI. It lets you chain together orders across an entire table and make it so almost all your units have the ability to activate at the time you want them to. They also have very solid armor choices that can dominate lower point games. Their mainline tank is extremely effective. Their main infantry, the B1 battle droids, are especially cheap and efficient. You can run a list with 6 of them and have more than enough points to spend on heroes you want. Their cons are very simple as well. They have some weaker heroes, like General Grievous is surprisingly not worth the point cost he is priced at. Although they have some good heroes like Dooku and Ventress, it's usually best to not take a named hero and make a more diverse army with some tactical droids. Although Dooku and Ventress are good and should be taken whenever you want to. Many of their units also have weak saves as well. They don't have a ton of staying power, especially B1s, as they do not surge to defend or on anything. And AI can force you to do actions in the wrong order, and you don't really want to do that, but it will happen if you go against a good enemy who can break your order chain. Having a backup plan is needed with this faction. Next up is the Republic. Now, the Republic is an army I've been interested in for a while, but for various reasons, I don't have it yet. Now, the pros of the Republic are pretty simple. They can run multiple light-side lightsaber-wielding heroes together. They have a strong and solid gun line with a lot of fun gimmicks built in there, especially the Phase 2 clones getting surge tokens on every turn. And many of your units have staying power and good saves. The cons of this faction are, they are an elite army, so you are probably running less activations than your opponents. This used to mean a lot more, until they changed the rules so you can take a step back and not do one activation if your opponent has more than you. Now, it's still not the best, but you can survive a lot better with it. They also have a lot of gimmicks to keep track of compared to other armies. This can be daunting for new players, so recommended to do some research before jumping in. The next faction, and the last, is the Shadow Collective. This is a mercenary faction, and their pros and cons are pretty simple. The pros are, they have access to Mandalorian super commandos. Depending on how you build them, these can either be very good or very bad units. However, I personally love them. They also have access to a large amount of token generation. Every single one of your units every single turn at the start is going to generate an aim or a dodge token. Make sure to remember this. And both of your named character leader units are very solid heroes. They can do a lot of damage, and they can be taken individually or together for amazing lists. Their cons are they have a very limited range of minis, and it probably won't get many more. And it works best when spamming what you have, either Pike Syndicate or Mandalorians. However, Black Sun is still very good, and a list just taking a ton of them managed to place in the top 8 in the most recent large tournament. It can also be harder to learn for new players with the amount of token generation you do. It can be very hard to keep track of. Thank you for watching and or listening to this video. There are probably going to be a lot more like it coming out in the next couple months in the same format, about the same game and many others I'm planning as well. So if you enjoy, like and subscribe. If not, I appreciate the view. Have a wonderful day.